long distance marriage can really test and affect your marriage negatively. I think that if there's a positive side to it, it's probably 5%. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Abisola Olu-Ojo. I film about faith, family and lifestyle as a Nigerian living in Australia. So I welcome you aboard my channel and I hope that you stay. If you are returning, welcome back to the channel guys. On today's video, I want to talk about how living abroad can affect your marriage. So if you're interested, please keep watching. Alright, so let me start by saying one of my favorite YouTubers did a video about this same topic recently. And I'm like, yeah, it's a perfect time to talk about it too, because I have definitely experienced how living abroad can affect your marriage. And I'll just, get into it straight up. The first thing I want to raise is living abroad can expose you or remind you of your spouse's shortcomings. And what do I mean? A quick example. So if you were in Nigeria, for example, and you and your spouse, have a live-in help, and you've always known that your husband in this scenario has never been one to do house chores, cook, clean the bathroom, or do any house chores, and it was never an issue for you because you have a live-in help, or you have someone that comes into the house to clean every now and then. It didn't bother you that your spouse wasn't helping. But if you now relocate and you start living abroad, that would definitely become an issue. And why do I say so? Because when you come in newly, for the first 1 or 2 years, you most likely will not have a live-in help or a cleaner. It's not like they don't exist. It's an expensive service here. So you would definitely need your spouse's help in terms of somebody helping with cleaning the bathroom or mopping the living room or washing dishes, because one person cannot do it alone, and that's the truth. If you even have young children, that makes it more difficult for one person to do alone. So if it was not an issue for you back home in Nigeria that your spouse wasn't helping, there's no way it won't be an issue when you start living abroad. And that has a tendency to start causing arguments. There's a strain in your marriage. You are not happy that your spouse is not helping. So I think that in that case, now that you are very aware of this shortcoming of your spouse, it's important to communicate. I need you to help me do this. I need you to help me do that, and then allow your spouse some time to adjust. Rome was not built in a day. If they were not doing it before because there was help, now that there's no help and he has to start doing, bear in mind that it would take some time. So we have to be careful not to allow little foxes spoil the vine. If something that was not an issue in Nigeria, you were happy in your marriage, now becomes an issue because you are living abroad, which should be a good thing. If it starts causing arguments in your marriage, just calm down, communicate, and both parties have to find a way to make it work, because both hands actually have to be on deck. I'll give you an example based on my own marriage. So, when we got married in Nigeria, I never had a need to do any administrative work like paying for bills online and things like that. Very different dynamic here in Australia, because there's several forms to be filled, several documents to reveal, several payments to approve and things like that. And every now and then, because we had my name on most documents and I was the one to sign and approve stuff, I would forget every now and then, and my husband would be so upset. I might even miss out on deadlines to payments sometimes, and he'd be like, this was in your email, why didn't you action it? I'd be like, guy, I forgot, or I did not even see the email. I might have like 50 unread emails, and it used to really annoy my husband. So we had times where, like, for a few months we would argue about why I wasn't on top of emails, why I wasn't replying emails and things like that. I'm like, you know what, as opposed to always picking on me and saying you did not reply to that email, what can we do to resolve this issue? So I'm like, you know what, this is my email password, be on top of it, please just check my emails. If I miss out on something, just action it. And then with our payments, we changed everything to direct debit. So when it was time to pay for a bill, I would probably forget, but the bill will be paid anyway because it was now direct debit. So find a way to balance out, focus on each other's strengths. If it's something that your spouse is not really good at, help them. And if it's something that you are better at, do it. Find a way to make it work. And making it work relies heavily on communication. So both of you should talk about it and decide on what to do to make your marriage thrive. Not that you start arguing over what he did not do or what she did not do. There's so much to be done and all hands need to be on deck. So just focus on each other's strengths and ensure that this is not affecting your marriage because you now live abroad, if you see what I mean. But it would definitely expose you to shortcomings that your spouse may have. All right. So moving on, the next thing that would definitely be affected when you live abroad is intimacy. Intimacy would suffer a little bit, and for different reasons. But I think one I'm going to refer to is pressure. Especially when you have just relocated newly, just trying to make ends meet, pay your bills, have a comfortable lifestyle. You both want to work extra hours if you are both working. So if, for example, it's just one person working, maybe the husband is working and you've just relocated, or maybe the wife is even pregnant. The husband wants to work extra hours, wants to do overnight shifts just so they can make more money. And by the time he comes back, maybe on a Friday night, and you had planned on the weekend, you spend time together or do something fun together. Your husband is tired. You say, I cannot do anything. I cannot go anywhere. Or for example, he has gone out all day and he comes back with some energy and he wants to do the do. But the wife has been at home with the kids and she's tired. She cannot do the do. And then you're angry. Intimacy will be affected. So again, being intentional is very necessary. Have a plan. If it's maybe date night, you guys want to go out together, have a plan. And that's the other thing. When we came in, it took a while to build community. I think based on my personality, it takes me a while to warm up to people. I need to really know you well. I need to really trust you before I can rely on you or call to you for help. So when I came in, I had a very young toddler and then I was pregnant. But I would still want times where I could just spend quality time with my husband and maybe the kids just go somewhere and it's just me and him. Back home in Nigeria, we probably had grandma, we probably had grandpa, uncles and aunties who we could keep the kids with for a few hours. But we didn't have that here immediately. So we definitely had times where we were not really having the best time in our marriage because there was no quality time together. The kids were everywhere and everywhere. We had to do everything with them. I have a friend here who says, Omo, she can't even leave her kids with anybody right now. So everywhere they go, vacation, date nights, they are going with their children. But every marriage needs a time where it is just you and your spouse. So they are also babysitters. Sometimes it might be a bit expensive to hire or to use the service of a babysitter for 3 hours. But we had to do that after a while where we were making decent money, we were comfortable. So we would we would ask for referrals for good babysitters and use their service so we could have date nights or go out together and have dinner or something. But in the initial phase of your relocation, intimacy would suffer because of the children, because of pressure to make ends meet, because of fatigue. A lot of factors can contribute to intimacy being affected. But then again, you have to be intentional. You have to find a system that works. If people offer their help, use their help. When you have built that community and you have people that you trust, use their help and let them have your kids over for a few hours while you and mommy or you and daddy spend some time together. And that's another thing here. Even though you have friends who you trust and will be happy to help, they might be unavailable. They might also be busy working. They might also have other commitments or appointments. They can't keep your kids and you have to be with your children, And that's why some couples are eventually able to bring their parents in or, in fact, even get the service of a living help when they make enough money and things like that. But just bear in mind that initially the first 1 to 2 years of you being in a new country, it is very likely that it affects your intimacy. But take one day at a time, start to know what works for you both and not just work and the beauty of marriage is not being put into consideration ensuring that you are meeting your spouse's needs is so important, even though you are trying to have a comfortable life in the abroad. Because I mean, last like, family is the most important factor, and if marriage is suffering, everything else will be affected. So prioritize intimacy in your marriage, whether or not you have to work extra hours, whether or not children are there. My third and perhaps final point for this video is one that is very prevalent now, just bearing in mind how many couples are relocating with just one spouse coming into the country first. I also experienced that for a period of time, and it was definitely a difficult season in my life. And I also know that there are other people who are experiencing this right now, where maybe based on your visa type, somebody has to come in before the other person, whether it's the man or the woman. Long distance marriage can really test and affect your marriage negatively. I think that if there's a positive side to it, it's probably 5% if it's a long distance marriage. Marriage, as far as God is concerned, is man and wife being together as often as possible. In fact, sometimes being together too much can also be a problem, but God's intention is for both man and wife to be together. But just bearing in mind that, you know, different situations, different circumstances can cause a temporary separation, but it should not be for too long, and that's the honest truth. So if for any reason at all you have to have that long distance marriage for a period of time, communicate with your spouse as to how long it will be for and what you will do to thrive during that period of time. You know, so it's sometimes it might be very difficult to turn an offer down if it will separate you and your spouse, but have very clear cut decisions made as far as long distance relationship is concerned. Now, if I would give an example as to how that affected me, it will be around when for a period of time my husband had to be away and it was just me with the children. Guys, parenting is meant for two people, and I understand that there are people who have to do it single-handedly, but it is a very difficult state to be in. So I would feel overwhelmed, I would feel angry, I would feel frustrated, sometimes even have resentment against my innocent husband, because I mean, we agreed, we had a plan, we had a time frame, we had a clear cut plan as to how long we would be apart for. But regardless of that, I have two very active kids. I would feel very tired, and then when my husband calls me, I'll just be very angry and be giving him monosyllabic responses. I would not want to say anything because I was just feeling very tired from, you know, working, caring for the kids and all of that. It would frustrate anyone really. So I would just transfer all my aggression on him sometimes, and then that would lead to arguments, and then we would resolve the argument. And you know, it's not the best situation being in a long distance relationship with your spouse. It's not the ideal situation. So again, I would say if you can avoid living separately, avoid it. But if you have to relocate and be separate for a while, please make it as brief as possible, and I hope that God enables you to make that possible. Now, aside having resentment towards your spouse, aside feeling frustrated, aside feeling overwhelmed by, you know, you having to shoulder a lot of responsibilities because your spouse is not there, aside all of that, something you can also do is open doors for temptation. And that's just the plain truth. I feel like the devil is really big on attacking families, and once he finds a loophole in the family setting, he will penetrate. So when husband and wife are not together, whether it is the wife or the husband, wherever they are very prone to temptation from, you know, from external parties, and we have to be very wary, be careful not to allow temptation. So even if you are apart, ensure that you are talking all the time, video calls, FaceTime, whatever you have to do. Speak every day, several times a day, you know, let there be constant communication, because body no be stone. Well, no matter how spiritual you are, you can be very exposed to temptation, and if anything happens, the trust in your marriage is destroyed, your kids will be affected. God forbid that because you chose to relocate for greener pastures, your marriage will not be destroyed because of that decision. God forbid that. So even though the only reason why you are choosing to relocate is for greener pastures and a better life, family is still the most important thing. Anything that you will do that will affect the health of your marriage, think twice and make very wise decisions. So yeah, I can't even overemphasize how important it is to live together, because living separately would definitely test your marriage. Well, I think, having said all I have said, as long as your marriage is built on the solid rock, which is Christ Jesus, your marriage will stand. So regardless of difficulties, obstacles, and different phases in your marriage, ensure that God is the center of your marriage at all times. A threefold cord will not be easily broken. I know that some of these things are inevitable. Even if you stay in Nigeria, your marriage will still have difficult seasons, but living in the abroad makes it a totally different ball game. That's why it's so important that you and your spouse, have Christ as your solid foundation, and you overcome every obstacle. Now, the purpose of this video is not to create any fear or make you unsettled or make you worry. It's just to create an awareness and also cause you to be intentional as far as your decision towards living in the abroad. And if you're already living in the abroad and you can relate with all of this, like I said, clear communication, transparency, just being available emotionally for your spouse is so important. And above all, praying about everything and everything. If you can relate with this video, let me know what you think. Share your experiences with me in the comment section. Did I miss out on anything? How has living abroad affected your own marriage? I would love to read from you. And until my next video, thank you guys for watching. Love you all. Bye bye.